Hello, and welcome to Jazz Tonight. I'm Michael Jacoby, executive producer of Jazz on the Plaza and host of Raising the Standards on KSCO Radio. We enter our second week of our homage to the great Ella Fitzgerald as Jazz on the Plaza 2018 continues. And I'm delighted to welcome a new face, a new voice, and a wonderful new friend, Sacha Boutros. How are you, Sacha?
I'm well, thank you.
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you.
You look wonderful.
Thank you.
Pants a little tattered, but it's all right.
Oh.
Show the shoes.
Show the shoes.
Can you lift them up? All right, look at this. Do you love that?
Aren't those fabulous?
That's true. You know what? She would have never left Kansas.
No,
if she
but
were wearing those.
unfortunately, I couldn't afford real pants. 50% off for the holes.
That's right. Now, you made your way up here from San Diego.
I did.
You're a San Diego
Kind
girl
of.
originally?
Via Paris,
Via
right?
Paris. We're going to talk about Paris.
Yeah.
But you were raised in San Diego,
I was raised
right?
in San Diego.
Okay. And so how many times have you been to the zoo?
I have been to the zoo probably 12 times.
12 times. And to the wildlife park?
I love that place.
I love it. I took
like
the
it
kids
better
there.
than the zoo.
It's totally cool. With
Maybe
the train
5
that goes
times.
around? Yeah, 5 times?
Yeah.
Did-
I was one of those.
Have you gone enough that the zebras know you?
No,
Oh, okay.
unfortunately.
You
But they
know
did
you've been there.
They gave me a private tour, and
Did
that
they
was
really?
fabulous. Yes. I sang for them, so they gave me a private tour.
Well,
Yeah.
we're going to work that out today in the studio. Sacha, you a little background. People often say to me, you know, what goes into making decisions to who we invite to Jazz on the Plaza? And because I do the radio show and I and certainly listen to an awful lot of music, and I get input from a lot of sources. The piece of input that I got this year regarding you is from our artist in residence, my dear friend Paula West. And when I called Paula and I said, all right, who am I going to get for next year? And she goes, I'll tell you who. And she suggested Sacha Boutros. And I said, let me check it out. And it took me about a second and a half. And I said, Paula, when she told me she didn't miss a beat, and she never does miss a beat.
No, she
Tell you
never
what,
does.
She's a wonderful woman and speaks so very highly of you.
And I love her very much and dearly, and for her artistry and her heart.
Hey, and you were on the cover of Los Gatos Babes magazine. No, it's not Los Gatos Babes. is
Los
it?
Gatos
No, it's Los
Babes.
Gatos magazine. That's what.
Yes,
But
thank you
yesterday,
for that.
I you didn't know it.
No, I was so surprised.
And my first thought was, oh my Lord, they didn't ask you, but you're okay. It looks terrific.
It was so beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great, great picture. Talk to me a little bit about, and I know you're, well, it's more than bi-coastal because you live in San Diego and in Paris, but tell me about growing up in the around the house. Music?
Lots of music, lots of classical music, lots of Italian and French, especially French music. Charles Aznavour and the likes, and a lot of George Benson.
Yeah.
Of
Your
which-
mom was a big George Benson fan.
Yeah, I
Right?
used to call. I said, "What were you playing that happy tunes?" And she'd say, "What?" She liked smooth jazz, a lot of
Yeah.
smooth jazz and some light jazz. But and my dad played a lot of Enrico Macias and different things like that.
Now, what did your folks do?
My folks, my dad was a businessman, and mom, she's at Qualcomm forever. She just retired.
And she worked for the company, not the stadium. The old
Yes.
Qualcomm was the old stadium, right?
In exports.
Yeah. Okay.
She's been there for a very long time and recently retired a month ago.
Well, good for her. Did they play instruments?
My father played a little guitar and a little piano, and he dabbled for fun, and he everything by ear.
Okay.
And my mom, if you asked her, to sing to save her life, that wouldn't work.
Siblings?
None.
None. So a spoiled only child.
Yes.
You were.
Who had to entertain herself.
Had to entertain herself,
Yes.
and I would imagine at some point a good deal of the family as well. Do a lot of shows for the family?
I think it was more like, be quiet. And then it came to the point as a 8 and 9-year-old where my mother would pay me to be quiet.
Yeah.
You're not Gypsy Rosalie, be quiet.
It could be, though. Is English your first language?
Well, English and Spanish. I
And
grew up
Spanish.
with both in the
Grew up
house.
with both.
And French and Arabic, actually. It was a very confusing.
So is Arabic different than Farsi?
Yes.
Okay, but you speak Arabic?
I speak a little bit. Yes,
Little
I
bit.
understand it. I sing in Arabic.
You sing in 14 different languages, 15 if you include love. But
I love how you said that in your article. It was beautiful.
Yeah, well, thank you. But you sing in 14 languages.
Yes. But music is my language.
That's true. Well, at some point during the interview, my producer Melissa loves it when I trick people into singing. We'll get you to do a little number in another language. Talk, you know Sarah McKenzie?
Sarah McKenzie, I think, lives in London.
She lives in Paris now, I think.
I think she's in London.
okay.
I think her bio needs to be updated.
Maybe it does. Maybe she's.
I didn't.
She's going to be here later in the year, but she
Great
made
singer.
me. Well, I was looking at
Yeah.
talking about Paris. What is it? I spent a little time in Paris, and obviously fell in love. First of all, you go to Paris, it's like you've never had food before.
Oh yeah.
It's another world. I mean, you have a salad in Paris. They buy 2 tomatoes. We buy a bushel of tomatoes. They buy 2 tomatoes.
But they taste like tomatoes there.
Unbelievable.
Oh, everything is so good.
Paula loves Paris as well. Now, how did you start this love affair?
It was since a child. My grandmother used to live there. She lived right on the
Oh, really?
Champs-Élysées.
Okay.
And so I would hear all these stories, and I would, I love Ludwig Bemelmans, and I would watch the book, of Madeline and pretend that I lived there too. And I would only see her when she came to visit. She'd come for the summers for 2 months, and I just imagined a life there. And I always loved everything about Paris. I'm a Francophile. My whole house has French things, and all these old French magazines and prints all over it, and anything French I love.
Now, when did you first visit Paris?
I was 14
14.
with my parents.
And your grandmother spoke French, obviously.
Yes.
And do you speak French?
I do.
You're killing me. So,
With an accent,
With
not
an
so
ac-
well.
not so
I
well.
say not so well. The French compliment me, but there's always something more to learn. Not
so,
native.
So 14. It's interesting. Sometimes you'll go. I don't know. I'm speaking personally, but sometimes you'll go to a place that just seems right. For me, it was New York. The first time I went to New York, I said, "This is it. I'm coming here forever, and I'm home." You have that feeling about Paris?
I do, and I have that feeling about New York too, which is very funny. But I feel like Paris is a little more refined than New York, and people are very direct, just the way they are in New York,
Well,
and they talk really fast,
There's not too much tact.
and they're in your face. But
love it.
it
It's
just
very
feels
honest.
like a little bit different, a little older. It's like New York's the California wine, and France is the old Parisian, the old wine. So yes, I love it.
So the first trip to Paris, tell me about it. Your grandma took you to all the places that she had told you about and that Madeline had been to?
Actually, it was so strange. I'd never been there with her.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
So she moved back when I was a teenager. I went with she was over here when I went over there with my parents. And then I would really say my first real trip to Paris, as I went there every year when I was on tour in Europe for years, was in April of last year, where I went as a tourist. And I said, I'm going to stay for a few weeks as a tourist, not book any shows, go to Europe for the sole purpose of just living. Joie de vivre. So
And I'll tell you what, folks, if you're on Facebook, befriend her, because you have the greatest videos that she sent, particularly from Paris. That when you're back there, every night there's a new video of you singing somewhere or walking
Thank
down a
you.
cobblestone street. That's wonderful. We're going to get back to Sacha in just a minute. I want to take a second to thank the good folks at the Pruneyard Cinemas, sponsoring Jazz on the Plaza. Marvelous dine. It's actually the only dine-in theater in the South Bay with a world-class neighborhood bar called Cedar Room. Let's take a little break, tell you a little bit about that, and we'll be right back to Jazz Tonight.
Hello, and welcome to Pruneyard Cinemas, Silicon Valley's most unique movie-going experience, and the South Bay's only service-to-your-seat luxury theater. Since this concept is probably new to many of you, let me take a moment to help you make the most of your visit. At the Pruneyard, the show starts long before the film begins. From our media wall in our lobby, keeping you up to date on happenings here at the theater, to our concessions area, which is, well, pretty special. Oh, you had dinner and cocktails in mind? Well, you came to the right place. Our chef-driven kitchen and Cedar Room offers seasonal bites which pair perfectly with our craft cocktails, draft beers, and local wines, and are all available at the bar and at your seat. It's really quite simple. If you'd like something from concession, something from the kitchen, or from the bar, just press the call button to your right, and one of our servers will be with you in no time. So that's it, just place your order. Thank you. They will be back with your check long before that critical scene in the movie. Our goal is to not disrupt you or your neighbor's experience. So just put up your feet and enjoy the show.
And welcome back to Jazz Tonight. We're speaking with Sacha Boutros. Oh, I got to tell you, you can't see it because I'm leaning against it, but I also want to give a big shout out to the folks from TaylorMade Golf. The show, I don't know if the show's aired yet, but it's coming up talk of the town, and we did a show at Pebble Beach with Jim Nance, and the folks from Tailor Made Golf were kind enough to send us a couple of these chairs to use, and that's nice. They're comfortable.
I fit in the chair. I
You
feel
fit
good.
perfectly, and I wish we had cup holders.
Cup
And you
holders.
wouldn't have to keep putting that beer
For
behind your back
martinis.
for
Oh,
martinis.
no, we're, like, kinda close
Or
to the
for
wine
you.
country. We
yeah,
have,
well, you know. Well, you
vino.
and I are going to drink a little tequila tonight.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we're excited about
Oh,
that.
I missed
but
that. They didn't have that in Paris.
They don't have tequila in
Oh,
Paris?
no, not really.
And they call themselves the City of
I mean, they
Lights.
had some times, you know, but not,
All
not the
right.
good stuff.
Let's go back to at what point was there an epiphany and said, wow, I can sing, or boy, I'd like to sing?
Singing was an accident.
Okay, well, how did it come about?
I went to private Catholic school most of my life, sang in the choir, never gave it a thought. It was just, I'm singing, and this is pretty, and this is for my faith, and that was it. And what happened is that there was somebody opened a jazz club in San Diego, and I heard this girl singing, and I said, she was singing Sinatra, and I said, I can do that in the shower.
Yeah.
And I went to this jazz club, and the guy was saying, oh, I'm looking for acts.
Yeah.
And I said, you are? And he said, yeah. Well, I'm a jazz singer from New York, I told him. I don't know why I said that. It was an
Who
accident.
happens to wear a pleated skirt?
It was an accident, yeah. So I told him I had a band, which I did not.
Excuse me. Yep.
And he was an
Well,
Italian
so
guy.
far so good. I'm a jazz singer from New York, and I have a band, which I didn't.
Yeah. And he had this beautiful club, and he said, he looked me up and down. This is when I used to play semi-pro soccer.
Yeah.
And I was, you know, really in shape. And he goes, if you sing as good as you look,
Oh,
you
that's
got the
good.
job.
That's good.
And I said, well, I guess I have the job. And I put my hand out. He shook my hand, and he said, I see you Wednesday. And then I had to figure out how to start a band.
Yeah. And write some charts, the whole thing.
Oh.
So you showed up with a band. Did you find a band?
I found a band. I went.
This
I went.
is a reoccurring theme in your life.
I mean,
by
I
the
found
way,
a band.
isn't
I
it?
just, you know, I just threw myself in there.
Good for you.
And I did. I found a band, and since I played the piano, I had lots of charts.
Okay.
Not in my key, of course. I was singing everything in the original key, like I was Julie Andrews.
So, so you just put a trio. Is it a trio you put together?
Yeah. And the second time I ever worked, I worked with Mike Wofford, who had somebody said, "Oh, you got to check this girl out. She sings really nice." And Mike was Ella Fitzgerald's musical
Right.
director and conductor forever. And I remember I was like, I was frozen. You know, he shows up and, you know, it's my second gig ever.
Speaking of Ella, did you ever see Ella?
I never saw Ella.
I saw her a couple times. Did
She seemed like a beautiful woman
she
too.
was marvelous. I hate to say who the people that influenced you, but I'm assuming that Ella was one of them.
Yes.
And who else?
And Nancy Wilson,
Okay.
of course. Oddly, Julie Andrews.
Has Julie Andrews done much jazz?
Not really, but as far as just
No, but say-
her pure voice,
yeah.
I started, when I was singing that, I decided to learn how to sing, so I studied opera for about 6 years.
Okay. You still enjoy opera?
I still do.
You still sing?
I still sing once in a great while.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about, so you get the gig, and having seen The Woman at the Jazz Club, you come in with a trio, or you doing a lot of torch songs?
I did a
or
lot-
Are you swinging, or what are you doing?
I swung a lot of stuff, and I did a lot of torch songs, like The Man That Got Away,
Yeah.
and a lot of Judy Garland-ish kind of sounding, and
Some Billie Holiday stuff.
a bunch of Billie Holiday, Ain't Nobody's Business, and I also called every person that I knew and said I was having a party. So they all showed up. So this guy had like, you know, 3 waiters,
Yeah.
and he said, who are all these people? And I said, well, you told me to fill the club.
That's right.
You know, when there was a line out the door to come in and everybody was there. And I think it was more the fact that I said, by the way, I'm doing a jazz gig. And they said, what? I said, yeah, I'll be over
be
there.
with us.
You know, just show up and drink something. Okay. And they did. But it was very funny because they had no idea what they were going to. And some of my friends kind of giggled at me like, what are you doing? You're standing there singing.
Is the club still open?
No. And the gentleman passed away, Stefano. He was very nice.
Now, do you literally have a club, or is it a virtual club?
It's a pop-up supper club,
Okay, which is called,
Sacha Supper Club.
okay,
We partnered with the Lafayette. It was a monthly social club, and it pops up at this historic hotel. And then we partner with other historic hotels. So now we're at the Fairmont, and we're in our 4th year.
really?
And last year was voted the #1 live music venue in San Diego.
And how often do you do the show?
So it's
Will you
usu-
do it for 2 weeks at a time, or what?
So it's like a usually once a month kind of thing, and it pops up and small tables, nice discussion between people. They have to dress up, which in San Diego that it's very difficult to do.
Put the flourish of harachis on. What and how many people come to it?
Anywhere
Do you have a
between
limit, or-
160 to
good.
350,
No kidding.
depending
that's
on the
neat.
size or what we're doing. If it's like
But
Havana,
do you do a meal with it?
yeah, they eat dinner.
Oh,
It's
they-
a
okay, so
full-on
you have
supper
dinner, I
club.
see, okay.
When it's a supper club evening where we do Sacha's Supper Club presents Havana After Dark
Okay.
or Meet
Then
Me
they'll
in Lava
pair-
Land.
They'll pair it with it.
They'll have a dinner. They'll walk in on a red carpet. They'll get their picture taken. They're dressed up. If it's Havana, they dress in the 50s.
Yeah.
They have the whole Cuban orchestra playing all night. I have dancers that dance, 10 cents a dance.
Really?
And I have a cigarette girl who walks around, cigars, cigarettes, and it feels like they're going into the 1950s. It's fun.
One of my favorite songs in the world, 10 Cents a Dance.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what they pay me.
It's exactly right. They're stepping on your feet. Speaking of individual tunes, I've had this conversation in the past with performers. Is there a tune that maybe you've just started doing or still am not comfortable doing because of your age? I mean, for instance, a tune like Lush Life. You feel kind of weird when you're in your 20s trying to do it. Is there a song like that that you just haven't really quite been ready to tackle?
Yes.
Which is what?
Sophisticated
Yeah.
lady. I never thought I was old enough to sing it, and I just started singing it last week.
You know, the story Sinatra went in the studio to record it and couldn't do it. He just said, I can't do this. It's a tough song to sing.
Yeah, it's not. There are songs that you haven't lived the experience.
need to
yet.
live it,
How
exactly.
can you tell a truth
Yeah.
if it's not your truth?
Exactly.
So I think another one was One for My Baby. I just started singing that.
So you were waiting to get your heart broken?
It's been smashed several times.
I was ready to sing that years ago. Talk a little bit about, and I always have to make the disclaimer, by the time folks at home see this, you'll be back in San Diego or Paris, and they will have missed a wonderful evening. But talk a little bit about what you have planned for the show. Who are you with, first of all?
Ron Belcher on bass, and Leon Joyce Jr. on the drums and on the piano. Very nice man, Larry Dunlap, I think his
Yeah,
last
Larry
name.
Dunlap, sure.
Yeah.
I knew Larry, I've known him for years. Good player.
Very
Good
good.
player. So I could do a little tribute, tribute to Ella.
Little tribute to Ella.
Okay.
And some songs in French that are from my new album, and then some songs in Spanish. And we're gonna attempt. I
We're
did
going to
some.
do an Arabic Macarena. I mean, some big stuff.
Did you hear about that?
No, I made that up. Is that true?
How did you hear that?
I made it up just now.
So
Is that true?
Yes. So I'm Mexican and Lebanese, French Lebanese, and so I decided to start to arrange some songs that were both, and you just happened to say that, and I'm actually not joking. So I said to the guys, hey, do you mind trying this? And it's a Cuban song that's a cha-cha,
Yeah.
and I put it to a, like an Arabic beat, So I was joking with the guys, and I was telling them, hey, you're Mohammed, and you're Khalid, and you're whatever, and they were laughing so hard. I was like, hey, Mohammed Belcher.
I saw, he said, continuing the flow of consciousness. When I was in New York, I saw The Band's Visit, which won Tony for Best Musical, which is about the Egyptian band who's in Israel, and they go to the wrong town for a performance, and they're lost, and it's just marvelous. Tony Shalhoub was
Oh,
was
yeah,
one.
he's Lebanese,
Yeah,
isn't he?
yeah. What a wonderful show. Folks, how many CDs do you have?
I have 3 several singles and a 4th one that has bonus tracks. That's the French version of the last one. But
All right, we're getting close on time, so I'm going to ask you: do you have a favorite language other than English to sing? Sing in?
Spanish.
Spanish? Can you give me a chorus of a tune that I know in Spanish?
Bésame, bésame mucho, como si fuera esta noche la última vez. Bésame, bésame mucho, como si fuera esta noche, como si fuera esta noche, como si fuera esta noche la última vez.
Oh, fiddly dee. Well, I'll tell you what, that if you end up being here tonight, that's a little taste of what you won't forget. And if you're not, that's the taste of what you missed, because it's going to be quite an evening. Quickly, folks want to find out more. Can they order CDs on your website?
Yes, they can, and it's La Reine du Jazz that you can just Google Sacha Boutros.
Okay. And if somebody buys the CD, they could send it to you and you'd sign it, right?
Of course I would. I would love to.
You're so nice. Would you sign it in different languages?
Yeah, if that's what they made them happy. I sign in Spanish a lot.
Do you?
I forget. I sign in Spanglish, actually.
Do you?
Yeah, it's Spanglish.
What's your schedule now? When are you back to Paris?
I'm back in October.
Now, do you have an apartment in Paris?
I do.
So do you sublet it
Not
when
really,
you're not
no.
there? Because I could make it to Paris.
Really?
So yeah.
They would like you in Paris.
Yeah, I do very well.
The
in
ladies
Paris.
would like you
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, we do all right in Paris.
Do you sing?
No, I talk flat, but.
Oh, you have such a beautiful voice.
Yeah. We're just going to do another half hour. Sacha, it's so good to see you, my dear.
Thank you for
And
having
we're
me.
delighted
Thank
to
you.
have you here, and it's going to be a special evening. And as we continue with this summer of Ella, we're so pleased with the lineup we have and where we're at in that lineup. That's Jazz Tonight. As always, I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you to the Pruneyard Cinemas and to you. Until next time, I'm Jacoby.